Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to G4G on YouTube. I am Napalm Dawn, as always, and today we're going to get into the first in a series of videos that I'm calling the Avengers Costumes. Let's go ahead and talk about them. So, my idea from this came about from the fact that there is a costume currently in Marvel's Avengers that people really didn't like, and it was the Thor skin that was supposed to be battle distressed. Well, the prevailing opinion is it looks like he's covered in shit. So that made me decide, hey, how about I do a video that covers all of the Avengers and their skins in the games that we've played over the years. And I was going to start with Thor. However, yesterday, which was September 22nd at this point, on Twitter, Crystal Dynamics and Square went ahead and said, hey, guess what, guys? We're going to do another MCU Iron Man suit in the game, and this is the suit from Iron Man 1. And everybody collectively lost their shit because this is a skin they very much wanted. So I've decided to be a little bit more timely and cover Iron Man today, and we will do Thor for the next video. So, we are going to take a look at old Marvel heroes on their wiki, Marvel Future Fight, Marvel Avengers Alliance, Marvel's Avengers, and that is... oh, and Marvel Super War. We're not going to cover Strike Force or Contest of Champions. Strike Force really doesn't dive into the uniforms too much. It's limited in scope, even though Cap, Thor, Black Widow, Iron Man at least have skins. It's still not really enough, so I'm not going to consider them. And at the end of the video, I'm going to basically decide what is my favorite representation of Iron Man throughout all the games. So, going back and looking at Marvel Heroes, which is now dead, we had the Golden Avenger, which is basically Mark 1, but gold. Extremis, which is, I think, very cool. You have the triangle... unibeam over in the center over there, and a slightly different look to the eyes. They look a little more wraparound. This one I do enjoy quite a bit. The way the colors are represented on this, and the amount of the colors, I think, are pretty good. Classic Iron Man, I mean, this is what a lot of people my age grew up with their Iron Man looking like. The original Iron Man cartoon, it was this one. Eventually, around the time that we had Marvel Avengers Alliance, we often referred to Mark 5 as Abs Iron Man, or the ugly one. However, this Iron Man had a lot of usage in Marvel Avengers Alliance, especially against group bosses. We can talk about that later. Here is his stealth armor costume, which looks very, very close to a combination of Mark 5 and Silver Centurion, but a little bit toned out on the shoulder pads. This one's pretty cool, but it sort of reminds me of Twiggy from Buck Rogers just a little bit. But I do like this one. It's neat. It's very different. Silver Centurion I've always had problems liking. I do like the arc reactor being a triangle. However, the shoulder pads have always very, very much turned me off of this particular uniform. Marvel now is cool because, again, it's not a departure from his normal uniforms in shape and everything, but the color scheme is really good. Sort of kind of just looks like a yellow jacket. There's Mark 1, the original fatty, thick boy. There's Mark 2, which is modern styling on the thick boy colors. We have Mark 3, and this is the one that he solved the quote-unquote freezing problem. It was called Hot Rod Red and Gold. You have Mark 4, which doesn't get talked about too much. I think Mark 3 is overall a little bit better. However, some of the adornments on the shoulders go away, and I actually think it makes Mark 3 look a little bit better. Mark 5, of course, was the suitcase one from the beginning of Iron Man 2, if I remember correctly, on the racing car track with Ivan Vanko. Then we have Mark 6. This one's definitely pretty well known at this point. The Avengers movie costume. I gotta check in Marvel Avengers Alliance. I always think of the Avengers movie one is kind of having the sort of what looks like launchers on the shoulder, but it's kind of standard. I mean, it's very Iron Man with minor differences from what we've seen. Mark 42 has always been one of my favorites. I really wish I could describe why. I think mostly because its kit in Marvel Avengers Alliance was very good. And again, it is something very different from a lot of his other ones. It sort of has a thinner appearance, and it drops the red and gold for kind of the khaki or the beige and red. It's almost a little too beige. I want it to have a tiny bit more contrast, but always did like 42. Star Boost. Love this one in Marvel Heroes. Again, something that is radically different, and this one is just designed differently. It's not just different colors. It looks like it does a radically different job. Heartbreaker, the one known for the giant unibeam coming out of its arc reactor. You don't see this one too much, but if I remember correctly, this is the one that's on the couch talking to Pepper. That really isn't him. Shotgun doesn't get represented too much, but cool. Again, different, more menacing looking, more like a Jason from Friday the 13th kind of a look to him. Nightclub, not that big of a fan of this one. The original weird Hulkbuster that Marvel Heroes had, the dome one, the shoulder domes, this one always just kind of looked like a football player to a certain degree. With shoulder pads and like UFC gloves and everything. This one is cool, but more on that. Now the two Guardians of the Galaxy ones. The red one and the white one, which is a Pro Pack color variant of it. Always really, really like these because these just look so different. These really stood out. Like when you see these, you know exactly what they are once you know the name from it. So I was always a huge fan of these two. Then we have Age of Ultron movie Hulkbuster, which I think does come in considerably more realistic and more menacing looking than the original. Age of Ultron Mark 43, Civil War, which was Mark 46, and then Homecoming Mark 47. Over in Marvel Avengers Alliance, we had Model 35, kind of standard, just looks like all those early ones. Mark 5, aka Abs Iron Man, the one who was really good on group bosses because of the way that his kit worked. Avengers Iron Man. See, these little shoulder ports over here. I kind of don't see Avengers Iron Man often represented with that anymore. But if you take those off, if you like kind of squint and look at the uniform without the shoulder ports over there, again, it looks very, very standard for Iron Man. And then, of course, we had 42, which I actually like the coloring of 42 more in Marvel Avengers Alliance than in Heroes, where it's the gold and the red instead of the beige. However, again, I still want a little more red to pop in this uniform, but this definitely was one of my favorites from the games. And then, of course, we have the Age of Ultron Iron Man, which would turn into Hulkbuster when you hit that skill. I like the chest and the head and the arms on this one. The legs are a little bit too gold. So right now, I would have to say my favorite is probably Guardians of the Galaxy Red. Different helmet, a nicer balance between the red and the gold over there. So I'm kind of leaning towards this one as my favorite so far. Going on to some of the other games here in Marvel Future Fight, we have the Endgame one. So here's classic. Really don't like this skin over here at all. The shoulder pads don't work for me. That the way they stick out over the rest of the arms, not too crazy about it. Age of Ultron here in Future Fight is very good. Good balance between the red and the gold. Little too heavy on the gold and the legs, but still pretty solid. Secret Wars I used for a long time in the beginning of Marvel Future Fight. I always appreciated how different this one looked. It just looks super... like its name could be Shogun very, very easily. Use that for a long time. Appreciate this one, although now I probably like this one a little bit less. Civil War. This one's really good. Really like the balance between the red and the gold here. Shoulders aren't too crazy. I think a very, very solid skin. Infinity War. This is definitely one of the best Iron Man looks I think we've ever had. Infinity War, especially when it has the fins coming out in the back. I mean, the nanotech in this one is great. It looks like it keeps it super, super lightweight. Very mobile, very trim, very agile. A lot of the times you see the skin represented, it has the fins coming out of the back of it that makes it look like it's really, really good for flying. The arc reactor is a pretty nice size over here. I'm going to have to lean towards this skin so far as my favorite. Marvel Future Fight's Infinity War one. Team suit, just not that much to write home about on that one. Avengers 3099. Huh. Gotta say, this is one of the best Iron Man skins around. The way they handled this to make him sort of look like an Iron Man on the run in a world where like mutants or superheroes are hunted down and everybody's kind of like ragtag and very underground, and always did think this was a particularly good skin. And again, really, really sticks out because it's such a radical departure from the rest of how Iron Man looks. And then Superior Iron Man, which I don't own, you see this skin a lot nowadays. This skin pops up in a ton of games. So right now, I'd say probably it is a toss-up between 3099 and Infinity War. My favorite of the skins so far. So let's pop over to Super War. And so here's Iron Man all queued up, ready to go as soon as Super War stops thinking. Sadly, Super War has not gone global yet. The rumor was that it may go global once they reach 100 characters. Who knows if that'll be true, but fairly bog standard Iron Man. Almost too much red on this one. However, if you look really, really closely when his idle animation kicks in and he sort of hovers and gets the repulsor rays ready from his hands, it really emulates how unsteady Tony Stark was in the first Iron. Here it is, watch. See, there's a little bit of a shake to the legs. It reminds me of when he was calibrating the suit in the first Iron Man and still trying to get everything right and just hover instead of take off, and he was like a little shaky in the air trying to get his balance. I think they did a phenomenal job of sort of recreating that, whether or not that was on purpose. This stealth suit is a little bit better than what we saw in Marvel Heroes. It's sort of a very modern representation of the stealth suit. I like it. Borders on looking very Iron, or War Machine-ish. But still very good. Infinity War. Here we go. This is where Super War really gets the skin perfect because of having the wings back here. Whereas Future Fight mostly hit it minus certain abilities, it's generally out on this suit. The helmet is still a tiny bit off. Let me see over here. Let me pop back over to Infinity War. I think I like Future Fight's helmet a little bit better. And the way that the features go on the shoulders, just the lines on this skin over here make it look like you're looking at a human body's muscles under the skin. Here, it's a little bit less like that, and I like the helmet a tiny bit less, but I really, really like the wings. So it's a toss-up between Future Fight and Super War's representation of Infinity War. And Planetary Armor, which has its own intro. We're going to let this play out really quick. I have trouble getting behind this one because it looks so Gundam. Yes, it's very out of place for Iron Man, which is cool. It's very unique. When the extra components go into his suit, I think it looks good, if not approaching great. But when everything's on him, he kind of reminds me of Jetfire from the Transformers, or a Robotech, Veritech, or Gundam to a certain degree. It's almost a little bit too much for him. And if he's going to have this color, I kind of want the gold to go away. I'm okay with the gold on the arms, but I think the gold on the helmet with the white silver and the red is just a little bit out of place. I wish it wasn't part of the palette over there. So, yeah, right now I think it's the two Infinity War representations that are going to be my favorite out of all of them. So I'm going to pause for just a moment and fire up Marvel's Avengers, and we'll take a look at the skin that was released today over there and talk about that one. Alright, we are back. Not that you guys can really tell because the pause is super quick, but I've got Marvel's Avengers up, and we're going to finish taking a look at Iron Man. So here is Iron Man's Infinity War skin. And let's go ahead and take a look at the outfits available here. So this is actually his endgame skin. Not nearly quite as svelte as Infinity War, but still very good. Still definitely a very modern representation of him. And it is good to see the MCU skins in Marvel's Avengers. They did something... Crystal did something very weird with the skins in this game. There's an infamous quote from Blizzard with regards to World of Warcraft where they said, "You think you want it, but you don't." And it was in reference to a lot of people who enjoyed playing on World of Warcraft private servers that went back to the unchanged world that was available in Vanilla, TBC, and Wrath of the Lich King. Cataclysm changed the entire geography of World of Warcraft because of Deathwing breaking out of his under-the-earth prison. So people who did not like that world or wanted to go back to the original would play on private servers. So Blizzard kept hearing from the community, "We want classic, we want classic, we want classic," and they kept saying, "You think you do, but you don't." Well, that's how Crystal originally was about the MCU skins. It's like, but this is not an MCU game. You think you want the MCU skins, but do you really? And then they went and said, okay, we're kind of floundering here with this game, so, okay, peasants and masses, here's some MCU skins. So we started getting a bunch of the movie skins. Now, I had originally... Iconic is what you start this game with. I absolutely hate this Iron Man. The helmet bugs the crap out of me. Then you earn makeshift armor throughout the game, which kind of looks like Wolverine inside of a VR suit or Ready Player One. I have Iron Alloy, which is basically Pepsi Man. Stark Tech, which is earned through the campaign, is not bad, sort of Mark 42-ish, but again, has that helmet I'm not that crazy about. You get Obsidian for the pre-order. There's Star Boost, which is pretty cool. Really approaches the one that you had in Marvel Heroes. Epiphany was the one... No, I don't like Epiphany. That's the one that looks like Casey's mask from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Same thing for Prototype. Iron Will is pretty cool. Sort of looks like Dark Soul, like a knight from Dark Souls mixed with Iron Man. Vapor Trail is just kind of ridiculous. Ultimate is a comic skin and approaches looking like the actual Ultimate comic skin, but it always just kind of looked like a Robo-Burble from the Thundercats to me. You had Eternal, which is basically the stealth suit. And then I got Illustrious as a legendary outfit before the MCU skins because I felt this was the closest I would get to an MCU skin in the game. Kind of Mark 5-ish in the fact that there is not a lot to the suit in terms of adornments. The color swaths are big, big red, big gold, not broken up too much. I was like, okay, this is going to be my near MCU skin. And then, of course, they started doing MCU skins. So I did pick up Endgame when it came out. Definitely one of their better ones from the Marvel movies, whereas Black Widow and Hawkeye were absolute trash. Iron Man is one of the best. And, of course, the man of the hour right here is Marvel Studios' Iron Man outfit from the very first movie. Gotta say, this is about as good as it gets for this game to do Iron Man. This is a true Iron Man over here. Really, really good skin. The red and the gold are broken up. That helmet is about as classic as you were going to get for Iron Man's representation. I mean, to me, that is the poster boy right there of a Iron Man suit. You have Superior, Hephaestion, which is kind of like the Star Boost one, but all emerald green. This kind of weird silvery gold boy. The Magma one, or Volcanic, which is... it's pretty neat. Sort of makes him look like an ogre, because the shoulders are big. I like the fact that this one has flow. And the Magma, this one really isn't actually that bad. But in terms of distinctive suits in all the games, I really don't think Marvel's Avengers produces a suit in this game that can kind of compare to the unique suits that we've seen so far. The kind of humanoid Tony Stark ones I don't like. I think they're all pretty much garbage. Iron Man throttle looks like the wallpaper in a Pennsylvania Dutch house from the 80s. It sort of just looks like a gingham tablecloth. Just trash. Prometheum is pretty good. I will give Prometheum that. It is pretty solid. Centurion is Silver Centurion, and at least the shoulder pads aren't quite as bad on this one. Not bad. If you like comic skins, I think Centurion's not too bad. Primus, weird colors, looks like Miami Dolphins. Red Dwarf has the terrible mask. Retro is okay, sort of like an evil look. Most of these are just going to be recolors at this point. Ray Gun is... okay, Ray Gun is kind of cool. It looks Mad Max-ish. I think this one is worth the price of admission to some degree, because this is one that is pretty unique within this game. It's more than just a recolor of some of the other ones that you have. North Star is okay. Apocalypse is, again, the Silver Centurion, but with different colors. Superconductor is not too bad, and here we have the ones based off of the Robo-Burble. Crash Test, a lot of people did like because it was very different. Bleeding Edge is from the comics, and honestly not a particularly bad skin in this game. Iron Man, Iron Knight, pretty decent. Neon Razor is gross. Iron Pyrite. Cosmic Glow is just like an eternal Jarvis barrier is on. Steampunk, which is not steampunk at all. Red Room is okay, but for the most part, at this point, you're just going to have recolors with some crazy ones like Monomatic. Some are locked. Original Sin is actually not too bad. Overclock is a little too bright on the red, but a good balance of the colors. So I think overall, my favorite out of all the skins has got to be a tie between Marvel Future Fight and Marvel Super Wars representation of the Infinity War armor. I think that one absolutely wins as my favorite from all of them. Iron Man from Iron Man movie in this game, I think, is really good. I haven't compared it side by side yet, but I think it's as near 100% accurate as you're going to get, which is saying a lot for this game. When they try to do a Black Widow movie skin and her guns are the right size on her hips, and then she takes them out of the hip holsters and they turn into the big giant guns she uses in this game. I cannot tell you how fucking stupid that is. Hawkeye having the bald haircut, being cross-handed, having purple on the feathers of the arrows instead of the black. That, I mean, they just fucked up so many things in this game. At least the Iron Man suit and then the Iron Man Endgame suit are really, really good. But I gotta say, overall, it goes to the two Infinity War representations. And I would give a honorable mention to Mark 42 from Marvel's Avengers Alliance, because there's a lot of nostalgia there. And just to kind of throw a nod in this game, I would give a little bit of a mention to Volcanic, because that one is pretty unique. The night ones in here are okay. I think they are a bit inventive. The other ones in here that kind of go into sets are not that good. And in the marketplace, we have this new bundle today that has some pretty scary ones in there. You have this Black Widow one that her blackout around her eyes is so much it makes it look like she's dead, and the purple is sort of like death tears. A little creepy. Captain America Federation looks overdone. Kind of looks like a parade outfit. Let's look at Hawkeye really quick. Oh god, Hawkeye is gross. It looks like he's watching TV in his helmet. Terrible skin. I don't know how people are going to pay $3,000 for this. This looks like he's supposed to be sitting on a floor in a Japanese house trying to eat rice out of a bowl with chopsticks. This Hulk is bad. This whole kit. Oh god. They had to go with the Tony Stark one for this Iron Man outfit. If this was a normal helmeted one, it might approach being decent. It's awful. Kamala's pretty good. It's rare to see Kamala in a bad outfit. This one is pretty decent. I actually would walk around with that one. I'm not paying $3,000 for the kit to get it. Kate is awful. She looks like a circus performer or a backup singer for Prince. And Thor looks like a clown. Oh my god. I feel like it approaches a very classic representation of Thor, except the colors are way, way too bright. But it's not the worst one in the kit. I would have to say Kamala is the best, and then probably Thor second. It's sort of like stage Thor, like when you go out on stage and you have to overcolor your things and wear excessive makeup so that the audience can see you from, the nosebleed seats and everything. That's what this Thor looks like. It's not awful. It's not the best. Kind of looks like Deadpool on his belt. And I hate the dent in Mjolnir's hammer. I don't know why they did that in this game. Mjolnir never has that centerpiece dent in any representation of it. And it just, I don't know, it looks like plumbing. It looks like he has a drain on the top, or like an exhaust port or something on the top of Mjolnir. It's bad. But anyway, So there you go, guys. There is a look at the Iron Man skins over a bunch of the games we've played over the last several years. Which one do you think is the best looking Iron Man, and which game overall do you think affords you the best Iron Man skins if everything was playable today? Marvel Heroes, Marvel Future Fight, Marvel Super War, Marvel's Avengers, or Marvel's Avengers Alliance. And stay tuned for the next video where we're going to tackle Thor and his battle-distressed, rusted, rolling around in a pile of pig shit uniform. See you guys.